write the equation in function notation. So we're given an equation and we're told to write a different equation that is parallel or perpendicular to it. And we have 4 examples here to work through. So first thing I need to do with these is, if it's given to me in the format of y equals mx plus b, I have to find out what is m. And then I can toss out b, and I use my x comma y to replace my x and y. So I'm going to use my y equals mx plus b. Y equals m times x plus b. I need to solve this for b. So I have 8 equals 12 plus b. Subtract my 12 over. I get negative 4 is b. And then I rewrite that, and it has to be in function notation, as f of x. That takes the place of my y in my y equals mx plus b, equals m, still using that 4 because it's parallel, x plus b. So the plus b is minus 4. And that one is done. So because this was parallel, I use the same slope. This one is talking about perpendicular. So that is telling me I have to change the sign on the slope, and then I have to flip the fraction over itself. So change sign. And flip fraction. And I have my slope is 1/3. So I'm going to take my slope, positive 1/3. I'm going to change the sign. So it goes from positive to negative. And then I take the fraction and I flip it over itself. So the 3 goes to the top and the 1 goes to the bottom. So that would be over 1, but because it's a 1, I don't need to write it. And I have my y equals mx plus b, so that's my m. My y is negative 5. There's my m. My x is 2. Plus b. I don't know what b is, so I leave that as just plus b. So I have negative 5 equals negative 6 plus b. Add my 6 over, and I get 1 is b. So now I have to write that in function notation. So that is going to be f of x equals m. I don't use this m. I use my flipped and changed m. So I have to use my negative 3 because it is that perpendicular slope. X plus 1. So parallel, same slope. Perpendicular, you flip it and you change the sign. So now let's do these last 2 problems here and see what you come up with while I erase the board. Okay, board is erased. Let's work it through. Goes through -2 comma -3, and it is parallel, so that means same slope, to that. 3x plus 2y equals 5. So with this, I can do it either of two different ways. I can change this and make it look like y equals mx plus b, or I can keep it as it is and use a different method. I'm going to do both ways. So y equals mx plus b. Let's do it that way first. We have 3x plus 2y equals 5. And I want to solve this for y because I want it to look like y equals. So I subtract my 3x over. So now I have 2y equals the -3x plus 5. Divide the 2 out. So now I have y equals -3/2 x plus 5/2. I want the parallel slope. Parallel means same slope, so I'm going to keep my slope. And I want to change everything else. So I'm going to do the rest of the work over here because I need to keep that for the next one. So I have through -2 comma -3. So my y equals mx plus b becomes -3 equals, same slope, -3/2, times x, -2, plus b. Multiply this. Negative times negative is positive. The 2's cancel each other out, and I'm left with 3. So I have -3 equals 3 plus b. Subtract the 3 over. -6 is b. And then write that in function notation to get my answer. So my parallel line is going to be f of x, because it's in function notation, so that takes the place of y, equals m, -3/2, x plus b becomes -6. Now let's see if we come up with something similar doing it a different method. For my other method, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my equation line, 3x plus 2y equals 5, and I'm going to toss, this looks like, first off, this looks like ax plus by equals c. I'm going to toss c. And then I'm going to replace x and y with my x comma y down here. So I have 3 times, my x is -2, plus 2 times, my y is -3, equals, and I tossed out c. Solve this for c. 3 times -2, -6. Sorry, yep, -6. Plus 2 times -3, -6, equals c. Negative 6 plus negative 6 is negative 12. And I'm going to rewrite this with the same slope, parallel line, same slope, which means the 3 and the 2 stay the same. So I have 3x plus 2y equals, and I'm going to change c, negative 12. So now, if I were told to write this in standard form, this would be done. This is standard form. But we're being told instead to write it in function notation. So now I have to solve this for y, which means I have to subtract my 3x. So that is giving me 2y equals negative 3x minus 12. And then I have to divide the 2 over. And I get y equals negative 3/2 x minus 6. Same thing. So it does work out. Now, again, you have to pay attention. Are you being told to answer in function notation, or are you allowed to answer in standard notation? If you're allowed to answer in standard notation, this one is quicker when you're given it in standard notation to start with. Now, the second question down here is saying through negative 2 comma negative 3 and perpendicular to that line. So I would have to do all of this same work over here for my perpendicular as I did for the parallel. Difference is I'm going to flip and change my sign, and flip the fraction. So instead of m equals negative 3/2, I'm going to have my m perpendicular is going to be, change the sign, so it's going to be positive. The 2 goes to the top, and the 3 goes to the bottom. So my slope of the perpendicular line is positive 2/3. And I'm going to use that with my y equals mx plus b. So I have my y equals, negative 3 equals, m, positive 2/3, x, negative 2, plus b. So negative 3 equals negative 4/3 plus b. Add my 4/3 over. And grab your calculator, type that in. I have negative 3 plus 4/3. Negative 1 and 2/3. Now I write my equation line as function notation. So my perpendicular line is going to be f of x equals m, I'm using my perpendicular slope, so 2/3, x plus b, so minus 1 and 2/3. There's my answer. If I were doing this my other way, because I'm given the answer, or I'm given the equation in standard form, so I'm going to do the other way also, just to show you how to do it. And also to show you that it's just another way of doing it, if you choose to. So we have our ax plus by equals c. That is 3x plus 2y equals 5. Again, I'm going to toss c. But also, I'm going to change the positions of my 2 and my 3, and I'm going to change the sign there. So I have 2x minus 3y equals c. So my 2 went to my x, my 3 went to my y, and the plus became minus. Plug in my x comma y down here. So I have 2 times negative 2 minus 3 times negative 3 equals c. So that's negative 4 minus negative 9 equals c. I have that double negative there. Add this together and I get 5 is c. Write that in standard form. So I want to use my flipped slope here. So I want to start with this line. I have my 2x minus 3y equals, there's my new c, 5. That is in standard form. And then I can take that and change it into y equals mx plus b. So 2x minus 3y equals 5. Solve for y. So I subtract my 2x over. So I have negative 3y equals negative 2x plus 5. Divide the negative 3 out. I have y equals 2/3 x plus negative 5/3. And instead of writing that plus negative, I'm going to write that as just a minus sign. Comparing that to there, I see the 5/3 is equal to 1 and 2/3. So this is y equals 2/3 x minus 1 and 2/3, which is the same as I had the other way down there. And depending on what you're being asked to do, if you're being asked to write it in standard form, or if you're being asked to write it in slope intercept or function notation. So whichever one you're asked to do, one of these is going to be easier than the other one. And that's the one that you want to choose to use, the method you want to use to solve. Or you can use either method and then force it into the right format at the end.